Need a Valentine's? Well, Who's Views knows just where to go. Join us now as we take a trip to the Wedded Bliss Agency. And remember, carry on loving.
Oh.
All right, then, so here we are, everybody. Nice to see you. Nice. Welcome on this 14th of February, 2025 to Whose Views Reviews, another in our Carry On reviews. This is Carry On Loving. As you can see, I'm with Paul and with George and I'm with Dr. Ian. Hello to you three. How are you?
Hello, not bad. How are you?
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited because here we go again with this fabulous entry because, yeah, we're off back. Guess what? Another chronicle. We're traveling back to 1970 again in our channel here, in our series here. Yes, we're going back to 1970, everybody. Here it is, Carry On Loving, which was the 20th in the Carry On releases. That poster doesn't give much away at all, does it really? But there you go there. Yes, this is Carry On Loving. It was written by Talbot Rothwell. It was directed by Gerald Thomas. It was produced by Peter Rogers, and it had the music by Eric Rogers. So, yeah, the usual crowd there. Yes, so here we go, 1970. And it shows, doesn't it?
Isn't it just the 1970 time capsule?
Yeah, if you want to see a snapshot of how repressed the Brits have been prior to the 60s, this is the film for you. Because this is all about the sexual revolution that happened in the 60s and how suddenly Britain was free of its Victorian chains. And they were all talking about sex.
Though, despite being the perfect Valentine's film, it was actually released on Bonfire Night. It went into cinemas on the 5th of November 1970.
Well, do you know what? Carry On Loving, what happens in this film probably very, very well, isn't it?
Well, fine, let's go with Valentine's Night, don't we?
Oh, it's just brilliant. Before we get any further as well, I just want to say we've been doing a few of these films now in our Carry On Reviews series. And believe it or not, everybody, this is the first one we've done that features the legend herself. It's Hattie Jakes. Can you just imagine? We got there at last with Ms. Jakes here. Hooray!
She did left appearance in Regardless.
Yeah, but this is the first one where she plays.
Yeah, she's got a proper feature role, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just brilliant to see her in this. And there she is, and she's been brilliant as well in this film. And I love Hattie Jakes and this one, she doesn't let me down at all. I just think, yeah, there we go. It's just brilliant.
One of the first scenes they have that I really like is when her and Sid have had an argument and they're fighting, and then the bell goes and a customer arrives. That tend to be loving. It's wonderful. Done.
Yeah, and she doesn't look like a Sophie at all, does she? Really, even though she was a brilliant character actor. She doesn't look like
when I see Hattie Jakes with Sid James, and I know Kenneth Williams is in there in the background somewhere, it always takes me back to Hancock's Half Hour. And of course, there she played a character called Griselda, and she certainly fits a Griselda, I think. But I mean, in the early days where she first came on for the 2 series that she was there with Hancock, there was a very unexplored storyline, apart from one major episode and a couple of others, where Sid fell in love with Griselda and he wanted to marry her. So right at the very end, where he's saying, "I want to marry you," again, it was just like it was like a stage scene of Hancock's radio show. It was it's wonderful seeing them.
It's quite appropriate that Hattie Jakes is in this because she's quite a loving lady in real life as well, wasn't she?
Well, apparently so. Okay. Listen, I want to just say hello to Sam. And yeah, my introduction for Hattie there just went out the window there because he said, didn't you do Sergeant? She's in that one.
Yes.
Of course she is.
Yes, of course she did, yes.
which I forgot. I had to.
The wonderful female doctor that berates. I forgot his name. Horace.
Brilliant in it. But thanks, Sam. You can tell, Sam, that I've missed her. Between Sergeant and now, I have missed her.
Talbot Rothwell sticks to his formula carry-on script here, because it was either Sid James was married to Hattie Jakes and lusting after Joan Sims, or he was married to Joan Sims and lusting after Barbara Windsor.
Yeah.
So we get option one in this film.
Yeah.
It's a great. I don't know. Watching this now, it still appeals to my warped sense of British humour. I do find it very, very funny. There's a certain tune that I would love to play for you all, Hoovers, but of course I'm not allowed. That has been in my head. I was telling the guys for 2 weeks since I went back to look at this for the first time last week. And it's been there. It's that one, well, it involves this scene. It's the music in this particular scene here. This is Richard O'Callaghan, who's still with us, actually.
Yes, indeed.
He was a good mate of Tom Baker's as well.
Yes. I had the good fortune of meeting Richard several times. He's a lovely, lovely fella. And a big smile comes on his face when he's reminded of he did 2 carry-ons. Big smile comes on his face when he reminisces about them.
I can't believe he only did the 2, because he's perfect carry-on material.
Yes,
and he's always
playing convenience as well, isn't he?
Yeah,
one of my favorites. We're going to come to that at some point in the series, but for me, he's a lovable wet fish in the 2 that he does, and it's just a shame.
Well, they're a perfect couple as well, aren't they? They just suit each other perfectly. They're as bad as each other, aren't they? Really? But,
He did say that back in those days he was naive as Bertram Muffet, because when he was doing the scene in the telephone box, and he was getting the address of Rotherham Mansion on the camera rehearsal, he actually pronounced it as Roger Ham. And Jerry Thomas, the director, said, no, Richard, pronounce it as Rogerham. And he said, otherwise the gag won't land.
Yeah, and we will get that through the censors, yes.
There's another, the street is got a funny name as well, hasn't it? Is it Plowham Street or something like that? Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. And it's all set at Snogging on the Green.
Much Snogging on the Green.
Actually, no, Snogging at the Green's at the beginning, isn't it? So he's
the railway station.
Sounds about that area. I'd hate to think where they live. If it was anything like Trumpton and Chigley and Camberwick Green, God knows where Snogging on the Green leads to. I think we can tell. I think we can, because there's that lovely line.
That's why that lady's got all those babies in Camberwick Green. That'll be why.
Yeah. Well, but it's that lovely line, because we've got this lovely cameo, very quick cameo from this gentleman here. This is Kenny Lynch, for those of you that don't know. He was a big comedy talent around when I was growing up in the early 70s. Lovely cameo from him here. But it's just that immortal line, isn't it? Are you going all the way?
Yes.
I love the bit when he does that, because his gaze is frozen. He tries to
But again, it just shows you. I mean, I look at this and I think, this was sort of going on in Britain at the time. It was all the sort of like, I mean, if you look at London's West End, it's all sex. I mean, they were really, really going for it at this part in our culture, weren't they? Really, in Britain.
Yeah. Amazingly, this was one carry-on that the British Board of Film Censors passed without a single comment or edit or cut.
Really?
Peter and Jerry had braced themselves for big arguments over this one. But the BBFC came back and said, no, that's fine. You can have the family certificate on it.
Brace themselves for big what?
Big arguments.
Oh, yes. Look at this, everyone. George sent me these as well. Look at this. This is exactly what I mean, because these were used to publicize the film here. Room service. This is room 38, 22, 36. And on the right there it says, how far would you like to go, sir? The sky's the limit when the carry-on gang turns the love parade into a laugh parade. Look at the Sid James character in there. It's just, that's where we were at, everybody. That's where we were at.
Well, this was one of the huge box office successes that the Carry-Ons enjoyed. I mean, even by Carry-On standards, this was a massive box office success. And certainly the most, what should we say, ribald of them up to that point. And the box office returns on this one convinced the Rank organisation, Peter and Jerry, to push up the lewd quotient going forward.
So you can tell as we get through the 70s, can't you? You really can. It's just brilliant. It's nice to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us in for that. Yeah, Legion James is saying, yep, okay, that tune is now playing in my head.
It's like they got a band following them around, isn't it, to be honest?
A lot of you with us this evening. Good. We've got a lot of you discussing things like Jan is saying Carry On Jack is the worst. Well, really? Have you seen Emmanuel? That was the real end of the decade.
No, it
Carry
wasn't.
On England is
No,
my
it
least
wasn't.
favorite.
England was.
Yeah, there we go. Adrian James is Carry On Abroad is another one I liked.
I like that one, yeah.
Legion James saying, I miss innuendo humor. You can't beat a good double entendre. Well, we're doing it often on this show, really, aren't we? Really?
Yes.
And Ark in Space is saying to us, I love some of the early black and white ones. There is an innocence about them. Not so much in this one, though, is there really? Because they are aware of it now. It's Paul saying, Mr. Muffet is very good, but I love Charles Hawtrey's useless detective. He's brilliant, Charles Hawtrey.
It's interesting to note that Charlie Hawtrey in this one, despite having a reduced role and reduced screen time again, he's third billed, so he was obviously still, his name was, still pulling power on the poster for the Carry On team.
Absolutely.
Even though he doesn't have that much screen time in this film.
He doesn't, does it? Is this the point where he's battling his demons, George?
Yes, it is. Yeah. And the schedule was arranged that all of his sequences were shot in a block, and he was on the film for about 1 week.
In the morning.
In the morning, yeah. Oh, it's sad. It's another sad story, isn't it? Really about him. But I love the fact that you were calling him that a useless detective, because he is. He's. I mean that disguise. Hello.
Yeah.
I mean that is so of the time as well, isn't it? But hang on a minute, you wouldn't get away with this now.
Oh, the Indian, yeah.
Going back to the image, the last image of Charlie Hawtrey there. Peter Rogers always making every pound stretch as far as he can. That is exactly the false beard and moustache that Kenneth Williams wore in Carry On Spying.
I was going to ask, are these reused from the prop box?
There's nothing wrong with recycling, George, isn't there? Let's be honest.
And then I bet you they dyed them black for a film that's coming up after this one in a couple of years. I bet they use them again, honestly, for Up the Khyber. But Charlie Hawtrey, what a great performance, though. But bless him. But it is funny because he is that bit where he's in the toilets. If you haven't seen the film, it's actually of its day because he goes in to investigate where the Sid James character has gone on, where Sydney, who was playing Sydney. And of course, he comes out of the toilet, very suspicious circumstances, and there's Bobby outside who lynches him off to the local bob shop. God knows how he got out of that one. It's so 1970. It's scary. Oh no, it's a great moment, that one, isn't it? This film is littered with great moments, and again, all these wonderful things that we celebrate on these carry-ons, the roles, the regulars and the guest stars. It's just all perfect, isn't it?
I must admit, it's disappointing that Peter Butterworth isn't in it more, but his little cameo is lovely, though, I have to say.
You've got to explain this cameo, though, because we, for those of you who are tuning in to us and you don't know the carry-ons, welcome. Hope you're learning something from this because they're brilliant. Go and source them. But there are a lot of Doctor Who names in the carry-on films. One of them being the Time Meddler himself is this one. It's Peter Butterworth. And there he is doing a fabulous guest appearance, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
Uncredited as well, George.
Yeah,
It was, well, at that time, Peter Butterworth was an exceptionally busy actor. And he didn't have the availability in his diary to do the full schedule. But like so many people, he absolutely loved being in the carry-ons. And he said to Peter Rogers and Jerry Thomas, look, I've got these days free. If you've got anything going, I'll gladly do it. And they came back with this cameo. And they came up with the idea that he wouldn't get any billing whatsoever. So it would be a nice surprise for the audience when he suddenly appears on screen. He's not credited in any publicity whatsoever. And for less than a day's work, he was paid £125.
That's
wow. Because he was a star.
Yeah, which in today's money is about £1,600.
Yeah,
That's
for
not
less
bad
than a
fee.
day's work.
Yeah.
And if I've read about Mr. Butterworth, and he was a pro, wasn't he? He was a very another great character actor, as we see from the Carry-Ons as well as everything else. He would have just gone in there, done it, and gone home.
Yeah.
Was he filming Catweasel at this point? Because he's in Catweasel, isn't he?
I don't know if it was actually in production when Carry On Loving was, but the dates sort of match up. But I know he was very busy because he did a lot of children's film foundation stuff as well.
Yeah, there's lots on Top
Yeah.
Pictures TV I've seen. Lovely, yeah.
So who's going to explain what he's playing here then? Because it is actually hilarious. Let's set the scene though. For those of you who haven't seen this, we are currently now. That this whole movie revolves around the Wedded Bliss Agency, which is a dating agency run by Sid James, and Hattie Jakes' character is Sydney and Sophie. And what they're doing is they're running this real con act. Actually, it's very ahead of its time, where lonely hearts come in to meet their future husband or wife. That's what we did in the old days. None of this nonsense. No, we went straight to the old hello. And got married. So, anyway, but that's what it's a dating agency, isn't it? Anyway, and it is brilliant. So these two are running. Look at this picture of them here. They don't necessarily get on either, do they?
I'm sure every Doctor Who fan and every Jerry Anderson fan will recognise the computer bank in the background there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is their big computer.
It's boss's arm or something, isn't it?
Sorry, Ian, go on.
It is computer. It's the first computer dating, really, isn't it?
Yeah, really, yeah. You could say that. They get all these clients coming to see them as well. So they've got this big database of clients, haven't they? One of which, in this lovely little scene, is Peter Butterworth. So who's going to tell everybody about this one?
Well,
he's had 2 wives, hasn't he? He's had 2 wives, and they're both dead. And first wife, she ate, was it mushrooms? She ate some mushrooms.
Yeah.
And the second wife died of head injuries. What happened to her? She wouldn't eat the mushrooms.
And the name of the character he's playing.
The way he delivered it, so deadpan.
Yes.
Yeah. And
he gets described as Dr. Crippen by Sid James.
Yes. As Sid James tears up the piece of paper where he's been taking the notes to join the agency. Thank you very much, Dr. Crippen.
Yes.
It's a bit sick, to be quite honest.
Yes. The original shooting script names him as Mushroom Man.
Mushroom Man. There you go. Paul Richards saying those computers, I think, are from the UFO TV series. Yes, they were in that as well because they got more work than some of the actors. Those computers. Bill Lowry is saying to me, JT, if you spot an innuendo, make sure you whip it out. We do. Don't you worry. I'll be whipping them out as soon as I see them. And Tony Graydon, hello and welcome to you to Who's Views. Slide whistles at the ready. I wish I had one of those now. I used to when I was a boy. And Paul Rose is saying here, no, you're stubborn at them out years. I nearly forgot about this stream. Crikey. Well, how dare you? How dare you not have it tattooed onto your very body to tell you when it's coming on? But good to see you, Paul. I'm glad you didn't. Ark in Space wants to think. I bet Charles Hawtrey has now cut out the ITV4 version for that role. That
little cameos, the Indian gentleman.
I think the ITV4 version just goes straight to the end credits.
Yeah. Edited highlights. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Matthew Butterfield is with us saying, "How are you doing?" That's a film on its way.
Yes.
Paul Richards got that with Word Mushroom, and Paul Rose is saying to me, "Don't know the Carry-Ons? Have you gone raving mad?" Well, believe it or not, some people abroad haven't seen them.
Yeah.
They don't know them, Paul. Because we've had a few messages saying, thank you for introducing us to these films. I've looked at it. They were very funny. So there you go. We're doing our bit now to export the great British series.
Did they do well in America, George, from your knowledge?
No. After the huge success of Carry On Nurse, the second in the series, several of the American Hollywood studios contacted Peter Rogers and actually made an offer to come over to America and do a Carry On based in Hollywood. And Peter Rogers said he turned it down for several reasons. He said, if we made a Carry On 10 times the budget, would it be 10 times funnier? Probably not.
No.
Was that Disney involved? Was it?
I think no. I think it was 20th Century Fox who made the offer. I could be wrong on that one though. He also said he didn't like the idea of going over to America to work because, one, he doesn't speak the language, and two, he absolutely loved Pinewood Studios, and he wanted to stay in his own backyard.
Where it was cheap. Quite right too. I mean, it would have, Carry On Hollywood would have been quite funny. But you know what? They got their own version 20 years later or so, didn't they? When they came up with something called Police Academy. Anyway, let's move on. We've got here from Mark McIntosh. Hiya, Mark. I love Peter Butterworth. He's one of my favourite Carry On actors. He had a hard time of it during World War II. He really did. And he's brilliant in this. He's so not what you would expect. He's just so deadpan, you know, and he just delivers the lines so crisp. It's wonderful.
Well, as an aside to that, Peter Butterworth was one of the prisoner of war who was involved in the real Great Escape. Yeah. And when the film came to be made, his agent put him up to play himself in the film. And he didn't get the part because the producers didn't think he would make a convincing prisoner of war, and they cast Donald Pleasance as Peter Butterworth.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? You can't make these things up, can you? No, you're not real enough, love.
But I mean, it's known after that experience he's suffered from night terrors and all sorts of stuff. It haunted him for the rest of his life.
Maybe being in the film may have been useful for him as well, but what a shame that, isn't it? But
he did say that, you know, his love of comedy and making people laugh was what made him was the mechanism that made him cope with that experience.
Oh, bless him. But in this, he's just in there for this quick cameo, but he's just brilliant, and it's a lovely surprise actually, because if you don't know he's coming up, and I'd forgotten he was in there. He is just very quickly for that one scene.
So did I.
I'd completely forgotten about that scene because I was too busy remembering Kenneth's bits and Charles Hawtrey's bits and those white boots.
I was going to say, it did make me laugh watching this. We talked about it backstage before we came on. I never noticed before when all that music's playing, when the young couple are getting it on, to use the current vernacular.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. But every time you see them, it's them. I thought when I originally saw this, it was different couples. But it's the same couple, but they don't seem to get any further forward, if you know what I'm saying.
They are funny though, these two. It's a running gag through the film for those of you who haven't seen it. They start on the bus and then they even end up at the end of the film, which we'll come to. And it's just so funny. They're in the back of a car and all sorts. It's just hilarious. And what a lovely part for those two. I'm sure they were enjoying that hard work.
Yes, Mike Grady, who went on to be a regular in Last of the Summer Wine.
He did, didn't he? There
was he in Citizen Smith as well? Was he?
I think he was in Citizen Smith.
He was, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not sure who the young lady is.
Valerie Shute.
Oh, thank you very much. There we go. There we go. But yeah, they seem quite happy there in the corner of the lift.
Yes.
And there's that music again, everybody.
Yes. Mike Grady said that he was paid 25 quid a day for his role in Carry On Loving, and he said it was the most enjoyable 25 quid I ever made.
What a tramp.
Yeah, there's worse way to make money, yes.
nice work if you can get it. and it was legal just as well. I mean, it is hilarious on this whole film, isn't it? Because it does show you that whole God, I mean, you know, what was going on after the 60s, the whole sexual revolution for everyone. Where are we, Paul? It says a lot about us that it's Valentine's night and we're discussing a 70s film. We're such romantics. It could have been a worse 70s film.
Oh yes, yeah.
Not on this channel. Oh no. And yeah, Paul Richards saying to us, I always think of that groovy upbeat music when I think of this film. So do I when I'm taking the trolley around Tesco.
It's funny, it's like the sexy music they have in Carry On Cabby when the female cabbies come on as well. It's that similar kind of vibe,
isn't it? Yeah. I found that. Well, Bill's back with us here saying, Bill Larry saying, I work for an Asian family delivering food to private homes. I frequently found them watching Carry On Up the Khyber.
Well,
that's brilliant.
A story that Bernard Bresslaw told was about a year after Carrying Up the Khyber was in cinemas. He was in an Indian restaurant, and the waiter who was looking after him and his wife turned around to him and said, "Oh, I saw Carrying Up the Khyber. I thought it was extremely funny. How did you enjoy visiting my home country?"
And it was Wales, and
it was Wales,
yes, it's Snowdonia.
Oh, bless. lots of you giving us some quotes and stuff here as well. We've got Paul Richards saying to us, "You're a virile man, so naturally you'll want to have a child." Oh no, I'm a mature woman, I think. That's a classic line.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a bit worried about that way we go today.
Well, I mean, Talbot Rothwell used the same gag in the same film, because earlier on,
twice,
when Sid James is showing his wonderful computer, and he says, so we put your details in here, and the lady of your dreams will come out here. Richard O'Callaghan goes, "That's that little slot. It's very small."
And then the same gag where Sid James soon says something along the lines of, "Oh no, I'd like a woman." It is brilliant. John is saying to us, this is a nice point here. Imogen Hassel appeared in this one. In real life, sadly, had a rather tragic life. It's amazing how many of these wonderful performers did. Mm-hmm. But yes, she is in this one. This is her one and only Carry On as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And here she is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You can tell it's the 70s, everybody. Hello. That is actually quite a funny scene. I have to laugh at this particular scene, because what this scene is about, Imogen's character there is called Jenny Grubb. Jenny Grubb, and she's left home, and we'll talk about her family in a minute. But she's left home, and she's getting a flat with these other girls. And she's becoming free, isn't she? She's going, and then that photographer there just happens to be looking for a young lady with a lovely set of Bristols.
Yeah, that's Julian Holloway. Yes,
Julian Holloway from Survival.
Yeah,
in Doctor Who land, everybody, in 1989. Yes. And it's a bit of a lech. It's a bit of a lech character, but I just remember thinking that's what the fellas were probably like then. To be honest.
Well, to underline that, one of the ways this film was promoted at a local level when it opened in your local Odeon cinema was the cinemas were sent 13 tight-fitting jumpers, each with a letter of the title "Carry On Loving" on them. And the idea was your local cinema would source 13 leggy lovelies, put them all in miniskirts. Each would have one jumper, obviously in order, and they would pose for a photo for the local papers in front of the cinema, and their chests would read "Carry On Loving."
Oh, they should bring that back, really, honestly.
Can you imagine?
No.
There might be one or two words.
They'd be flayed alive, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Can I just reiterate, in November 1970, this film smashed box office records.
It did. It did, because it's just... It was of its day as well. We'll come back to Jenny in a second, but let's go back into this. Paul Richards says, this one's cheeky, but it doesn't go too far. And like Emmanuel, I don't want to talk about Emmanuel. Thank you very much. I can't get through it. I quite like the theme tune. That's about it. But there we go.
Well, there is a connection between this one and Carry On Emmanuel.
Go on, then.
It is the theme tune. Kenny Lynch, who plays the bus conductor in this one, wrote the theme tune for Carry On Emmanuel, Love Crazy.
Love Crazy, yeah. There's only a part of it I don't like, Love Crazy. The lyrics, I would have to... Is that that bit where it talks? But anyway, we'll have to look at that. Paul Rose, JT, it's sad that the world is so dark now that a lot of jokes can't be made anymore without the possibility of being locked up. Thankfully, we still have the old stuff. Yeah, but they keep trimming it, don't they, and getting rid of it and trying to ban it and all that sort of stuff. So if you haven't got the DVD editions or even the brand new Blu-rays of the Carry On, get them. You can get the collection on DVD, all the Carry On films, quite a reasonable price now, and they're fabulous. They come in a lovely red box, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I have my copy here. But this is the one you mean?
That's the one. That's the one. It's lovely, isn't it? Absolutely.
I've not watched Carry On Emmanuel yet. I need to watch that. I've never ever seen it. So.
We've got Mark saying to us as well, the film script underwent numerous revisions to ensure the humour was suggestive yet remained within the limits. They had this little thing called the censoring board around, which was a pain in the neck when it came to the Carry-Ons.
It was actually scripted as Carry On Courting, and then the name got changed to Carry On Loving just as it went into production.
Ooh, They were often doing that, weren't they?
Yes, and even though the British Board of Film Censors didn't have a single problem with it and passed it immediately, the film censors in Northern Ireland banned it outright and would not allow its distribution in Northern Ireland because it was too salacious. And when it was resubmitted in either 73 or 74, they still refused it. And the good people of Northern Ireland didn't get to see it until the early 80s when it appeared on TV and then on video.
Wow.
It was a huge hit on television, though, wasn't it? When it was broadcast on the ITV network, it was massive.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
When the Carry-Ons were first broadcast on TV, they were pulling in audiences of 20 million.
That's with 3 channels, by the way, everybody, just to put it into perspective, but and a different rating system. But that was still a lot for our little island as it was then, because we weren't as busy as we are now. So that's a lot of people watching a film like that.
When Carry On Loving first got a TV screening, it was put out after the Watershed because it was considered to be too lewd to be pre-Watershed material, despite having a certificate.
Do you know how long it was before it got to be shown on television after its cinema release?
It was about, I think it was 78, its first TV screening, so it would have been 8 years.
Well, that's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because now, of course, it's churn.
But
a different process back then, because they had to pay for them as well, didn't they?
Yeah. But the thing with the Carry-Ons is they were forever getting reissued very, very profitably in cinemas. So there was a lot of money to be made just on the cinema release, and they were held back from TV for a long time.
Yeah, because the money
was just making so much money in cinemas.
People were still going to the cinemas back then, weren't they, really? And the Hollywood blockbusters hadn't really started at that point to really take over our lives as much. I just want to say about Jenny Grubb as well. Jenny Grubb blossomed, to say the words, as soon as she found her very, I'm assuming, successful modelling career. She went from this, called Blimey Goodner, to this. Hello.
Yes.
There's the lovely Terry Scott there as well, playing Terry.
No imagination there.
No. Now, again, these were, and thanks to George for sending these in, but as ever on this is what these pictures are, all those things which were actually outside the cinemas. So when you were queuing to get into the cinema, these were the pictures you got to see. And that one, I think, I'm
sure that was very popular, that one.
I'm sure it was very popular.
Terry Scott had a lot of fans.
So
it's quite different from her prim and proper initial appearance, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And her family, a bit like the Addams family, aren't they, a little bit?
Yeah.
A marvellous cameo from Joan Hickson.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's talk about that, because we've got some people who have actually said this as well in the chat. Where are you all? Let me try and find you here. Yes, we've got Legion of James. The actress who played Miss Marple, Joan Hickson, is in this one, isn't she? And Paul actually came back and said, Paul Richards came back saying, yes, Miss Marple is in this. Again, the whole beautiful thing about this is that you've got character actors in this who are brilliant and can turn their hand to anything. Because here's Joan Hickson. Yeah. Looking rather scary, actually.
You wouldn't mess, would you?
No. But do you remember? I remember in the 70s, growing up in the 70s, certain older ladies looking like this with these really scary specs like that. And they were formidable women. This is Jenny's family.
A similar character in the Likely Lads as well.
I don't know.
But
I don't remember. But this is Jenny's family, everybody. This is the Grubb family. This is her mother, believe it or not, in the film. And
an actor of Joan Hickson's caliber can make just standard delivery lines like, no matter, only Crown Derby. Very, very funny.
When Terry Scott falls over and does all this pratfalling.
He's doing a Roy Castle, isn't he, to be honest?
Yeah, but it's that lovely line where he says something like, oh, you must think I'm very clumsy. Yes.
I love that the granny gets the best line, though, is I like him.
Yeah. And then you get that lovely wink from Jenny.
Yeah.
She's after him. But that whole, I remember as a little boy, this whole scene in this very Victorian lace room with 150 relatives in it. I just remember laughing at Terry Scott because he just amused me. Because it was all this stuff with the bit where he sits on the knitting needle. I don't know. I nearly wet myself. The bit where he falls over the sweet trolley. Oh,
one thing that does surprise me that I'm amazed that the British Board of Film Censors didn't object to for a family certificate film was the reference to pot smoking.
Yes,
in that scene. I'm really surprised they let that one through.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. Perhaps they didn't understand it. I don't know if they knew that one. The Bill Lowry saying to us, the story goes that the censors would make their notes at the end of every 30 minutes of film, so the makers tried to get the best stuff in at that point. Yeah, fuck yeah, off.
Fuck you off. Yeah.
That's a great line from another
Yeah, it's
film.
one of
I
my
can't wait to
favourites.
look at that one. Yeah,
Well,
John is saying Jenny Grubb is outstanding. Yeah. And of course, yeah, John Roberts pointing out that Joan Hickson was in Nurse and Girls as well. She's brilliant in Nurse, absolutely. In Girls, she plays another didgery old woman, doesn't she? With her bloomers.
She's in Carry On regardless, isn't she, as well?
She is,
That's
yes.
when Sid James wanders round and gets to take for someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, she became a sort of guest artist with them, didn't she?
Yes.
She was so busy, she wouldn't have been able to do them all. And she probably knew not to be quite honest, because you're quite established actress by that point.
Yeah, she was a Carry On semi-regular.
Arkin Space saying that was Mary Whitehouse.
Very similar, yes.
Yeah.
She did have the glasses.
Definitely got the glasses.
Yeah. See, that's what I mean. They were so... Oh, I mean, I remember the women in Liverpool on a Saturday afternoon all having the nets and the curlers in and those glasses and some sort of great big Huggy Bear type jack coat on, and even in June, you know, it was absolutely frightening and frightening women. You didn't mess with them. Thanks for that, John. Nice to see you. Mrs. Lisa Pertwee is with us. Hi, JT, Paul, George, and my darling Dr. Ian. Isn't that lovely? Very nice. But yeah, that's a great, and it's lovely to see her again. It's another sort of lovely. I mean, Bill Maynard crops up in this as well, doesn't he? As well, and it's just nice to see these people that coming in to do a little bit in this particular film.
What I did notice at the end surprised me was Anna Karen from one of the buses has a little tiny part at the end as one of the guests of the people who were hooked together by the agency. Which is interesting.
Well. Again, she wasn't
again,
she wasn't a Carry On newcomer. She was one of the Chase Place girls in Carry On Camping.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And she also had a very brief role in Carry On Again, Doctor, as well.
Carry On Again, Doctor. There's something else, isn't there? That's brilliant. Paul Richard.
Just jump in and before anybody else does, I have to say, honestly, my word. Jackie Piper.
Oh
dear. Absolutely gorgeous woman. She's just in there. And commands the screen, doesn't she? And gorgeous lady. And she's still absolutely lovely to this day.
She's still with us.
Yes, I'm very fortunate. I've known Jackie for a good number of years. Absolutely lovely person. She's the only person to be put on a multi-picture contract by Peter Rogers ever. When Peter saw her in a play that she was doing, he signed her up for 3 films. And she's the only actor ever to get a multi-picture contract on the Carry-Ons. He was that impressed with her. And Jackie tells a very funny story about the making of Carry On Loving, which was her second Carry On. Her first one, Up the Jungle, was one of the few that Kenneth Williams didn't do.
Yeah.
And she said the first time she met Kenneth Williams was early one morning in the makeup room when they were shooting Carry On Loving. And she was sat in the makeup chair, having her hair done for the day. And in walks Kenneth Williams into this quite small room in Pinewood. Kenneth Williams looks her up and down and says, "Oh, you're the new girl, are you?" And then he did what I think we can describe as a John Barrowman.
Yeah, you see, he would do things like that as well.
Even then,
And he turned around to the hair and makeup lady, Stella, and said, "Yeah, never mind about her, Stella. She's pretty enough. Make this up."
I mean, there's very famous stories of Mr. Williams actually just showing everybody his hemorrhoids.
Yeah.
Whoop! There go my bloomers. I mean, come on. I mean, that we won't get into that. Mark's got a question for us. Mark Milford. Were entire scenes really built from scratch in just a few hours, or were they quickly repurposed from earlier films?
No, that's not the case. As with all the Carry-Ons, the scripts were honed to the last letter before they went onto the studio floor, and it was very rare for an ad-lib or something that was made up on the spot or changed on the spot to go through. The script really was the Bible.
There we go. There we go. I mean, they didn't like the scripts being deviated from either, did they?
No.
I think the actors got whipped into shape fairly quickly. You must say the lines as they are, because otherwise the gag doesn't work.
Yes.
And they got, I think a lot of them got used to that, and they just did it, didn't they? Because you can actually see in some of the films their concentration on getting it done properly. You know, it's really quite good. And in some of the films, there's some mishaps.
Yeah.
Where they have to adjust it quite quickly to get to the gag. It's fun. We can point them out to get through.
Did they have rehearsals for these movies at all? Other than rehearse and record?
They would do a couple of camera rehearsals and then go for a take.
Right.
But no, there wasn't like a rehearsal process where they were locked in a rehearsal room for a couple of days and, you know, they just played through the script to get a feel for it.
How modern.
Yes.
I mean, everybody was expected to be absolutely word perfect. You know, the moment they were on the studio floor. But they were rehearsed, and if there was any sort of practical effect involved, then obviously, you know, that was rehearsed to make sure it ran smoothly before the camera started rolling.
Yeah. John is saying to us, Jackie Piper was always my favorite Carry-On girl. I loved her in At Your Convenience. It's strange that you mentioned that, because we're not doing that, but we will be doing that but not until obviously May. If you've seen the film, you'll know why. But that's when we'll be doing that one. I can say. Also, we've got here in the chat as well, Paul Richard saying to us here that Patsy Rowlands played the wife of the Lord Mayor in Carry On Girls. She was incontinent, I mean. Yeah, and John Roberts coming back saying the wonderful Patsy Rowlands was terrific as Miss Dempsey. She always played Dowdy and Randy characters in equal measure. Patsy Rowlands in this is one of my favorites. She's just absolutely gorgeous.
Which becomes the vamp to get Kenneth Williams. It's so funny.
I think Patsy is one of the unsung heroes of the Carry-Ons, and she absolutely shines. Again, she only comes in really for the last 15-20 minutes of the film, but that scene she has serving dinner to Kenneth Williams and Hattie Jake, she absolutely shines in that. She's just brilliant.
What makes you think that?
I used to love her in Bless This House when she was Sid's neighbour in Bless This House.
Yeah.
Well, it was Sid James that got Patsy Rowlands into the Carry-Ons, because Sid James said to Jerry Thomas, the Carry-On director, you know, if you've got a part you want to use Patsy Rowlands, she's done a couple of episodes of Bless This House with me, and the one she's been in, she's stole it from everybody. She is absolutely brilliant. You need to get her into the Carry-Ons.
Yeah, that was lovely of him. That, and supporting your fellow artist there. But that's great. But this Miss Dempsey, I love Miss Dempsey because she just did. I love that bit where she is actually going through a wardrobe. And she said, "Oh, cast me aside, would you?" Oh, I've been slaving after you for 40 years.
It's when she managed to tackle Gripper, which is even better.
Gripper, you'll recognise him as well, who viewers. Gripper is, of course, Mr. Breslau coming back. Bernard Breslau, Ice Warrior extraordinaire, coming back to the Carry-Ons, playing a great big wrestler, as you can see there. And he's very loud. He's brilliant, isn't he? He's absolutely brilliant at this. But Patsy Rowland's character is having none of it. And Miss Dempsey gets in there and flings him around the room. Through the window.
It's very Carry-On screaming, that bit, isn't it?
Yes.
So, yeah.
I just love it because it's obviously a dummy. That's a cushion. It is brilliant though, but I just love the way as part of this scene that she's flirting like crazy with Kenneth. She's playing Percival Super.
I mean, again, you know, the skill of such a talented comedy actor. You know, when she's flirting with them, her eyes are fixed on Hattie Jakes, going, "Oh, we don't always like it on, do we, love? Oh, I mean, sir. Oh, what have I said?" And she's looking directly at Hattie Jakes.
That's just brilliant. I just love the way that she's just seeing off this other woman very, very quickly. You're not having him, love, because I'm already here. It's just brilliant. It's just, the way it's all performed. Here they are. They're at the top of their game when it comes to Carry-Ons, and they know their craft, and they know how to deliver lines and perform, and they just go on and they just do it. And you can feel their energy, can't you? Really, you can really feel it, especially in these scenes because they're so funny. Just absolutely. I have to say, obviously, I do love Kenneth in these films as well. He's just as Percival Snooper. Absolutely fantastic. Here's another one of these lovely photos. And this is when Sophie goes round to see Percival, isn't it, at the Marriage Guidance Centre, because she's actually not married to Sid.
Yes. Well, contrary to the absolutely untrue myth that Kenneth Williams absolutely hated doing the carry-ons, as I mentioned before, he wasn't in the preceding one, Carrying Up the Jungle. He came back for this one, and in the published parts of his letters and diaries, he actually states how overjoyed he is to be back on the set of a carry-on and how much he was enjoying it.
Yeah, and he also, when he did those audience wids, he would talk about them. Just matter of fact, wasn't he? He had all these wonderful memories of them. So I don't know whether I think it must have been when he was on one of his off things, I hate it, because he was trying to be a serious actor, wasn't he? Oh, look at me, I can't. But hang on a minute, bless him.
But if you read the published parts of his diaries and letters, there's times he loathed absolutely everything he did.
Including Doctor Who, and he was never in Doctor Who. Remember that bit in his diary? We said, "I watched Doctor Who tonight."
Like when he was the darling of the West End as the Dauphin in Saint Joan, and the critics said, he was this amazing new young actor who was taking the West End by storm. He got bored of it.
Yes, he did, didn't he? and the other thing, I haven't read the diaries for years, but I remember being absolutely shocked by what I was reading.
Great,
shocked. No wonder that the showbiz industry trembled for a couple of years after that. Do you know what I mean? But I was shocked by this stuff and what he was saying. But I actually know what came through for me was you knew what you were doing. You said to work, you said no to work. You had the choice, Mr. Williams.
There were other cross-reference the Orton diaries as well, and you got a bigger picture of the whole thing.
Well, I mean, 2 points on that. If Kenneth Williams hated doing the carry-ons, why did he do 26 of them?
Why did he do 26, including that god-awful one at the very end?
Because he didn't sign a contract back in 1958 when he signed up with Carry On Sergeant to say he was going to do 26 films over 20 years. They were one picture at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, I once had the great pleasure of meeting Kenneth Williams. And I asked him, I did, yes. I asked him if he had any regrets about his Carry On association and being so connected to them. And his answer was, my only regret about the Carry Ons was I didn't do them all.
Wow. God, yeah. And if he'd signed to that deal at the very beginning as well, where he got the royalties, he would have been a millionaire. Oh, bless him. He had other things going on as well, which I'm sure was affecting him. I mean, he wasn't a well man. He had various demons going on about his sexuality. God love him. Honest to God. PTA's with us. Paul Thomas Ashworth, thank you so much. I forgot this was on. Shame on me. Shame on you. I love the carry-ons. I know you do, PTA. British institutions on steroids. Well, the three of them aren't too bad. Oh, you mean the films? Right, yes. Yes.
I've had my medication. Thank you very much.
No, but thank you for your super chat, PTA. It's great to see you getting here with us, everybody. Thank you very much. What are your memories of this particular one? And Mark is saying to us, Patsy Rowans did a great turn as Spud Gunn's mother, Mrs. Potato in Bottom. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
I've forgotten about that. Oh, I'm going to have to hunt that out. I've forgotten. Yes, because I didn't see all of those because I was working, but I do remember the odd one time when she turned up. That's her from Carry On. How wonderful. How wonderful. Yeah. But no, I mean, yeah. Again, the performance is just brilliant. Mark is saying to us again here, Kenneth Williams must have loved doing them, using 26 out of the 30. Absolutely. Kirsty's with us. Hello, Kirsty. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. She's saying here, hello, beautiful people stuck at work. Oh, boo. Is it a dating agency? Are you waiting for Mr. Snooper to come in or something? Happy Valentine's Day. Don't break my heart and hit the like button and subscribe. See what you did there. Look, well done. We've also got Mark Greaves with your super chat. Thank you, Mark. It's so hard to build my model planes with these new milk bottles. Yes. That is brilliant, isn't it?
I love it when he pulls it out of his briefcase and it's all bent. That's wonderful.
Straight as the wings.
Because we're where we are now. You do wonder for a minute what he's going to bring it out of that bag when he's got the beautiful jacket in front of him in nothing but her undies. Looking fabulous, by the way. Somebody's been to Marks and Spencer's for this film, I can assure you, because you get to see the whole lingerie range of 1970 in this.
The other thing is when Jackie did this film, she was newly married. She got married just before the film went into production.
Did she?
Yes.
Oh. Well, there we go. So she was on a little bit of a high, actually. Paul Rose is saying to us, I love Bernard Bresslaw. Never met him, unfortunately. He got around. Anyone remember Krull? I'm trying not to.
Yes, where he played the Cyclops.
Yeah, he played the Cyclops, which was a very carry-on performance, I thought.
Which is ironic because in real life he was as blind as a bat. I mean, he literally could not see that far in front of him.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know that either. And Ark in Space is saying to us, you should review the On the Buses movies at some point. Don't start us. We've got a lot to do. Don't go down that route. We've got a lot planned for you here on Who's Views. Make sure you've subscribed to the channel. But thank you very much. Give us a thumbs up as well, because this is one of our other series, of course. This is us looking at the legendary British institutions of the Carry On films, which shows our seaside humor, which unfortunately isn't really around anymore. It is dying out, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but this is it. Well, the Carry-Ons are there. This is our original sort of big humor.
I'd not seen this one for a while and thought when I watched it, this is really juvenile, right up my street. I really enjoyed it. It's like my kind of humor, it really is. It's so juvenile. It's brilliant. Really
it is though. It's those silly jokes, isn't it? And it's all about tits and bums and all sorts. I mean, it's just funny. But this is how we grew up.
It signposts what it's going to be right from the start, though, doesn't it? It gives the title and then it gives all the alternate titles. And you see with all the people that are in it and production crew and everything coming up at the start, and it has the feet of the people in different positions as well, which are really quite suggestive.
Encouraging a threesome in the titles and things like that. Yes, bizarre.
In my research here, time what you're saying there, Ian. My research here, it says here, Carry On Loving is the definitive It film, with the It jokes coming thick and fast. Yep. Have you had it? My blue jumper, it says, have you had it? Let's go straight to my place and do it. When talking about taking photographs. When talking about a cup of tea, I always fancy it in the mornings. And in the phone box, as we mentioned there, occupied by the loving couple, oblivious to the callers, joins the club. Please be quick, runs the display notice. Others may be waiting for it.
Yes. And then there's other ones like, well, the last time I did it was on Regent's Park Bridge.
That takes me back to the 90s.
Everyone kept looking at me.
And then other things like the Roger and Mansions. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. This is our humor in Britain, everybody, and it gets worse in this film. It really does. It goes real the knuckle, really to the knuckle here. I want to mention, of course, the wonderful Joan Sims in this, looking gorgeous in this. And she's playing a fabulous character here, isn't she? Which is just typical Joan. Esme Crowfoot.
Corset fitter extraordinaire.
Yes. On our front door.
Yes.
In a block of flats. In Roger and Mansions. Where she...
The street names and the building names are fantastic, aren't they?
It's just
another example of how people enjoyed doing the carry-ons and what a great atmosphere it was on set. The lady she's fitting for a corset in her first scene, who, to all intents and purposes, she's an extra. She doesn't have a speaking line or anything like that. Actress called Amelia Bannerton, who did several carry-ons. She played Joan Sims's mum in Carry On Camping.
Yeah, I remember.
It was it?
Yeah.
Was it? I'll have to go and have a look at it again a bit more closely. Another excuse there, viewers.
Yes, and she was Charlie Hawtrey's mum in Carry On Abroad.
Carry On Abroad, yeah.
She often plays the battle axe character, doesn't she?
Yeah, she was so typecast, but at least she was in work.
Yeah. But again, anybody and everybody who was there for a Carry On that I've spoken to have all said the same thing. They were such good fun to do. You know, to get paid is just to have non-stop fun from the minute you got to Pinewood to the moment you left. I think it's just another example that, an actress who was well established and talented like that said, yeah, I'll turn up and I'll do a complete non-speaking part where I don't even get a close-up.
Just so she can see the gang
involved. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. Joan is brilliant in this though, because it's a character that's used basically by Sid, isn't it? Because her character, of course, Sid is having a sort of affair with, he fancies her rotten.
Yes.
It's
But
the
he has to
usual
vet all
stuff.
the clients, doesn't he?
Apparently, he has to vet all the clients.
Yes. But
all the female clients.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
not
of
the
course.
men.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you can tell how much of a good time Kenneth Williams and Joan Sims are having when they do that scene where she tries to seduce him. You can see the pair of them are just having the best time doing that.
I showed that picture. It's that one, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's hilarious actually when Sophie there, who's supposed to be looking after all the clients, she looks matching them all up, and she says, "Well, I've come to the conclusion that the best one for you is me." It's just wonderful, and he's like, "Oh, it's a great scene," and they work. Oh, it's just brilliant, isn't it? Joan Sims, of course, is playing the sort of girlfriend, if you like, to Bernard Breslau's Gripper.
I love that when he's got her in the hold and he says, "Last time I did it to you, you turned to jelly. I'm not in the mood." It's wonderful the way she's hanging there. That'd be brilliant. Yeah.
And also, Joan Sims doing her own stunts here. I mean, Bernard Breslau just literally dropped her on the floor.
He dropped her. He really did. I want to know. I wish I'd been able to reach out and say, "Was that planned? Did you hurt yourself?" She's literally on the floor.
I mean,
they would never go again.
Yeah, it's a wide shot. It's not done, as a half shot and then cut to her on the floor so she lands on a mattress or anything. She's just dropped.
And God knows she gets up and carries on with the scene and the lines. And sorry for laughing, but it is absolutely brilliant when he sees it. And he's just like, whoa! It's just a proper wrestler. Whoa! He's so butch and macho and dangerous. He'd knock you for 6. There's another scene I quite like, of course, and it involves Kenneth Williams.
Interesting boxer shorts he's wearing as well.
Yes. But I mean, you can tell. I mean, not just Joan Sims and Kenneth Williams, but Hattie Jakes and Patsy Rowlands had, clearly had a ball doing that sequence.
Absolutely, it's just one of those carry on. You just know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
you know what's going to happen. Hattie's character Sophie goes round for the dinner. When Patsy's character's running through the you know that Joan Sims is on the way with Sid. You know that Gripper's. You just know it's going to be hilarious.
But kudos to Talbot Rothwell for being such a skilled comedy writer that's scripting it in a way that everything converged to that point and came as such a fantastic tying together of all those elements and still be achingly funny. I mean, I watched it yesterday and I've known this film for decades now and I was still laughing out loud at it.
It's a bit as well because even though it's still the suggestive bit, isn't it? Because you mentioned this, Paul, but this bit here, it's still quite funny because you just know that now that the trousers are down, he's going to be caught in the act, and everybody's going to go from A to C very, very quickly, aren't they?
The boxer shorts make it look like a football referee, doesn't he?
Yes, his comedy boxer shorts.
Yeah.
Didn't Taylor Swift try to copy that in an album cover at some point? I seem to remember.
She's always doing that. Yeah,
it's always.
I mean, that sequence would play beautifully in a stage farce and it would get a standing ovation.
Oh, but that's exactly what it is, isn't it? It does remind me of those farces on stage from the old days. I don't know if you get them so much now.
But they for the foreigners and all those,
where people would run on with a feather duster in a maid.
Brian Rex is no longer with us.
Oh, fantastic.
Or Ray Cooney even, So
let's go and see what they're saying in the chat, shall we, here as well. Nice to see you all. Thanks for joining us on our Valentine's Day show, which is, of course, Carry On Loving. What else are we going to do this year? What else are we going to do? Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Hello to Boomer Doug, late to the party again. I'm sure you've just got up though, mate. How are you? Carry On Loving is a joy. It is, isn't it? It's absolutely fantastic. And to watch it again for this review was just absolutely superb because I've forgotten some of the stuff about it because it's not one I go back to regularly.
I was exactly the same. I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It was great.
Yeah. Paul Rose is saying Sid James's laugh is a wonder of the world. It can't fail to cheer anyone up who is it. There's still several generations still left in our country that when you hear that, you know exactly who it is, don't you? I love that it's still
Yes.
And some of the kids are coming through knowing who Sid James is because of the repeats, which aren't very good, but the repeats are good as well. You know. And Mark Greaves saying to us, did Sid James and Bernard Breslow get on, because they seem to do lots of scenes together? Well, if they didn't get on, it doesn't come through, does it?
They were the best of friends in real life.
Yeah, I think that comes through on in Nurse and all this sort of stuff.
Camping,
as well,
particularly, they're together now, aren't they?
Yeah,
camping.
Yeah, definitely. Not wanting to jump the gun, says Mark, but the food fight at the end is hilarious.
It is, yeah.
And Paul is saying to us, Paul Rose saying they should air Carry On films uncut, steady, more often. There's nothing wrong with bawdy humour. People in society need to learn how to laugh at each other and life again and stop getting offended. Exactly. The problem with the Carry On films, it's some censor somewhere assuming that people are going to be offended, so they're getting offended on the fact of people getting offended, and I think it's nonsense. You know, that whole thing there. If you don't like it, switch it off like we used to do.
Yeah, don't watch it if you don't like it.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's a Carry On film.
Yes.
If you're new to the
it's
UK,
harmless, utterly harmless. It really is. Yeah.
If you're new to the United Kingdom, as many millions of you are, then you know this is British humour, and you know if you want to learn about British culture, watch the Carry Ons.
But the thing about the Carry Ons, all of them, is there's not an ounce of malice in any of them.
Yeah. No, not at all.
It's fun for fun. Yeah, it's fun for fun's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, you laugh just as much at the straight white man as you do at all the other characters.
And they're all in there as well, aren't they? Really,
yes.
You know. Yeah. It was it was brilliant though. Again, a part of this script is it does take you by surprise because you don't know where it's going, do you? Because you know, let's go back to these two. I mentioned these two at the top of it is all about their Wedded Bliss Agency. As it comes out that they're not actually married. Sophie's looking for love. He's just looking for a bit of the old woohoo, and that's where the Joan Sims character comes in. You can tell that they don't get on. I love this scene. Hattie is just loving it. Sid is there ready to receive this bottle, isn't he? He's just there, and look at that, still there. That is not a joke. She's ready to crack it on his head, and she's loving it, isn't she? It's brilliant. It's a brilliant scene.
It is, yeah, definitely, yeah. I love the fact before he gets the champagne, he's about to go and he has to borrow some money from her, and she's already got ready to give to him, knowing he's going to ask for some money. Yeah, that's brilliant.
The Wedded Bliss Agency, the exterior is exactly the same location as the Helping Hands Agency in Carry On Regardless.
I love that fact. It's the same office, isn't it? I love it. It's brilliant.
And Dr. Nookie's consulting rooms in Carry On Again, Doctor. So if anybody happens to be around Windsor, just wander over to Park Road. And to this day, it's instantly recognisable with the Victoria wines on the corner.
Isn't it brilliant? And we'll just show that again because you can see part of the location there. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that why Charles Hofstra looks like that? Because the Victoria wines are just around the corner. I don't know.
Oh, bless him. Oh, bless him. It's a terrible story, isn't it, that one? Absolutely terrible story. But it's a great script, actually. And as I was watching this for the third time, for this show, I was thinking, why don't I visit this one more often? Because it's a great script, and it's not the strongest Carry On, but it flows lovely, and the script goes from A to B to C. As I say, you don't know where it's going really.
I think it's got a real pace to it as well. It goes really fast. When I watched it,
really
just goes like that. You know,
I agree with that. Talbot Rothwell knew what he was doing because he had all these various bits based around this Wedded Bliss Agency, and he knew how to get them basically to that finale.
Yeah, but not only Talbot Rothwell, but Jerry Thomas as the director and a very skilled editor too. There's no wasted footage in the film. Everything contributes either a gag or a laugh or to the story and moves it forward. There's nothing that just pads it out.
Yeah. Well, also nothing was left on the cutting room floor because that would cost.
Well, not strictly true.
I'm kidding. Yes.
Because a couple of actors did film sequences for this film that ended up on the cutting room floor and don't appear in the final print.
There you go. We've got Paul Richards with us here saying the Carry-Ons are full of British eccentricity, and Julie Ann's with us because she's changed her lovely avatar there, so she's thrown me a bit. The wit to woo.
Yeah. Yeah, that made me laugh. The wit to woo. Exactly. Yeah.
It's so clever, wasn't it? Absolutely.
A bargain at 16 bob.
Yeah, whatever that was. And poor Rose, we are a sarcastic bunch, but that's just a big part of British self-depreciating humour. Absolutely. John Roberts, the critics always said the carry-ons were sexist, but the women were always the stronger characters. Totally. Absolutely, totally.
So, talking of the critics back in the day, not only was this a huge box office success, as we said just before, the critics liked it as well. The Times actually gave it a glowing review. And said it was an achingly funny comedy film.
Did they?
Yeah.
I'm stunned by that, because they were always quite hoity-toity, weren't they? A bit snobby. Interesting. Mark Greaves, so many characters, and I don't find myself saying that they could drop a storyline or a character because they all work so well. It's just the way it flows, as we're saying in the show. It just flows really well, because it's packed. When you look at this film, it's packed with different scenes, different characters in their own little worlds. Tied together only by the Wedded Bliss Agency. It's very well done. It really is good.
And it has the best description of Sid James ever. The appearance of an ancient and dissipated walnut. But I think that also shows how happy the cast were to send themselves up, because Sid James could have easily turned around and said, no, I'm not having that.
Yeah,
not talking about me like that. Maybe he was quite happy for that line to be left in.
Oh, it's so difficult to state which is my favorite part of this film, because there are several of them, and you get all those little cameos like Peter and Joan and all this. It's just fabulous. But as a little boy, my favorite scene had to be the end. What a mess.
Before we get to that bit, can I say though that the bit with Terry Scott and his girlfriend on the sofa and the constant zipping up and down is hilarious. I absolutely love that. Yeah. Every time I get interrupted, you know.
Oh, goody company.
It's supposed to be my night.
I'm glad it's your night. I'd hate to be here when it wasn't.
It does take you back to when you're a kid and you're a young person and you're sharing with other people, and you've all got a night in case anything happens.
And then when Imogen Hassel is putting the cat out, and she says, "Shoe cooking fat, shoe." God says, "You can't call it that, cooking fat." Well, that's what it sounds like.
It's a brilliant line.
That's a great line. It really is. Yeah.
It's absolutely genius. They were so clever at what they did, weren't they? They were just genius at what they were doing and how they were writing it and producing it and stuff. It's so clever. We've never seen the like, really, of the carry-ons. I mean, hopefully we're proving that in this series, but we've never seen that. Even the later carry-ons, like that awful Columbus, was not really anywhere near the genius of Carry On Loving. It didn't flow as well, did it? I do like the end, though, and I know a lot of you in the chat do like this end. I was thrilled with this as a little boy because it was just absolute chaos and lots of custard pies flying everywhere. It was like Tiz was on steroids. This bit.
It reminds me, it's a Monte Carlo bus with Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis, a bit like that kind of finale, isn't it?
But it's just ridiculous, though.
Yes. The close-up you get at the start of the sequence of Kenneth Williams getting a pie in his face, that was thrown by Julian Holloway.
I love when Anna Karen does it to her partner, Mrs. completely.
It's just not what I expected. There's that lovely bit there where Sid and Sophie are getting married, and he's sort of like, you know, trying to cheer her, and she's like, and she's noticing none of their clients are actually getting on or enjoying the festivities.
It's more like a week than a wedding, isn't it? To be honest,
it really is, isn't it? Even those two at the back playing on the thing. I mean, the Titanic crew did better.
I think where you just have to see Hattie's sheer professionalism here, because he gives her a drink and then he pours it over her head, goes down, shakes it up, squirts it down a cleavage, then gets the ice bucket. And
the ice bucket is brilliant. Her reaction to that is superb.
I want to know how much of that was scripted and how much wasn't, because Hattie's just going there going,
well, and apparently that was real ice.
Oh,
yeah. Well, believe it as well.
Yeah.
And
fabulous.
Richard O'Callaghan told me that when he did that sequence, he ended up with an ear infection because some of the goo from one of the prop cakes that was being thrown around managed to work its way right into his inner ear, and he couldn't get it out, and he ended up with an ear infection. He had to go on antibiotics to clear it up.
Well, I hope it didn't last with them for long, because it looked like they were all having fun, though, doesn't it? Because they're just chucking things like left, right, and centre when we leave them at the very end. Absolutely ridiculous. Paul Richards saying to us, "I love the cake fight at the end. It looks amazing." They must have had some sort of choreography for it at some point to start them all off one by one by one, and then you can just imagine the director saying, "And then just go for it, loves."
Yeah, everything's done in one take if possible. Yeah.
And then out of nowhere,
no seconds, just get on with it.
Out of nowhere, Hattie Jakes has got this huge baguette she's battering Sid James with.
Where the hell did she get that one from? When Dripper's trying to get Sid, isn't it? She's like, and the handbag's still on her arm. It's brilliant. Hey, listen, hello to Inspector number 23. Good to see you. How are you? Davros inherited those dating computer props in Genesis, but the only matches he could get were Agura from the Dark Crystal and Oranti from Farscape. No, it just lived up to its reputation then. That's somebody around the back putting somebody else through. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you for that one. We're going to come up to Scores on Matron's clipboard very soon, everybody, as well, to see what you think about this. Out of 10, of course, as usual. But yeah, let's get some final words, Paul. Come on. This is not what it's amazing. It's not right up there. Why isn't it right up there with?
I don't know, because Ray Bizarre, again, as I said earlier, I've not seen this film very often. I've seen lots of other ones many, many times, and I was surprised how much I enjoyed this. I don't remember enjoying it as much as other movies, and I loved it this time. It's hilarious. As I said, the juvenile humor is right in my street. It really is.
Well, it is very juvenile. This is
central. It's fantastic. It really is.
This is schoolboy humor, isn't it? Really, it's 1970. That's why we appreciate it, because we grew up with that sort of humor.
Yeah.
And this is the sort of humor we had at school. I seem to recall. Terrible, terrible. I remember going around a lot when I was a young boy, going, "Whoa." I do remember that though, and it's things like this,
and not know why you were doing it. Yeah, so.
And all the adults around me saying, "You can't do that." You can't do that. But it comes from these films. Judge, do you want to take that one from Paul Richards? I wonder if we'll get all the carry-ons released on Blu-ray in the UK.
Well, 4 of them have had standalone Blu-ray releases so far, which are Jack, Cleo, Cowboy and Screaming, all of which are absolutely lovely discs. The series is coming out on remastered Blu-ray in Australia at the moment, and I believe a deal has been done for a UK distributor to pick them up and release them in the UK as box sets of 4, starting at number 1, going through to the end of the series. So fingers crossed they are on their way in Blu-ray.
Ooh, I hope they put them out in order like they did on the DVD box set, because I need them in order, whereas they just seem to be scattered at the moment. I think that's I think that's a mistake.
Well, the sets that have been released in Australia, they're up to set 4, I think, at the moment. Set 1 is the first 4 films of the series, Sergeant through to Constable. Set 2 is 5 to 9, then 5 to 8, and then 9 to 12, and then 13 to 16 is the most recent release.
They're just trying to do a spearhead from space on them, aren't they? You get to buy as many copies as possible. Yeah.
But you know what? The carry-on fan base is so big. They will have every single version going back to the original DVDs, which was one film on one film on one VHS, wasn't it? Do you remember?
Yeah.
I remember being so excited when they started to appear in Woolies for $9.99. I've got some of them over there.
Again, when they were released as sell-through videos back in the first wave of the video boom, they were literally million sellers in the UK.
They were
massive sellers.
And they were $9.99, which was the budget range. I mean, it was ideal. And you got just a film, no features, no nonsense on it. You put the VHS in and off you went, ha 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 ha. And then 90 minutes later, it's done. Just happy days. So honestly, I've got some of the originals over there. Woolies, I miss you, Woolies. Carry on, Woolies. There you go. That could be done. Set it in 1978.
I can just hear the music. Yeah. That snogging couple in the corner. Yeah.
I mean, I have to point out that these two were in so much of this film, including Under a Table at that.
And it was a bit squash in the back of the mini was interesting.
With Terry Scott going, ooh.
Yeah.
With the L plate, you must be joking.
Oh gosh, it was still quite innocent the way those two were at it, though, wasn't it? Really, it was so suggestive. I just always remember the white boots and the theme music for them. Absolutely, those boots were sort of everywhere. Sick, isn't it? Really sick. But no, here we go. So listen, we're gonna get onto now to scores on matron scoreboards. If you want to start putting your marks out of 10 for Carry On Loving, everybody, into the chat, and then we'll come back in a second and see what the guys make of it. Oh, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us tonight. It's great to see you tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the show, but we're going to go straight to Paul first of all to say, what did you think of Carry On Loving, and what are you giving it out of 10?
Well, like I said, I'm surprised how much I enjoyed it, because this is not one that I watch often, and it was better than I remembered, which is really good, and I really enjoyed it and I had a laugh. So I'm going to give it a higher score than I thought I was going to give it. I'm going to give it 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10, not bad at all. George, what are you going to give Loving?
I mean, it does exactly what a comedy film should do. It's funny, it makes you laugh from beginning to end. I mean, Talbot Rothwell, you know, the gags are just rolling off his typewriter one after the other. I mean, I don't think there's a minute of screen time where there isn't something that at least makes you smile in this. And
how did he do it? I have no idea how he did it.
And it's delivered beautifully by a cast who are so skilled at comedy and working as a team. You know, they really are firing on all cylinders. I don't think it's quite the very best of the carry-ons, but that's not to discredit in any way. It's very hard to top some of the other ones. I'm wavering between 8 or 9. I'll go 9 out of 10 on this one, because do you know what? I watched it yesterday. I could watch it again tomorrow and enjoy it just as much.
Yeah, I know what you mean. All right, Third Doctor Ian, what do you think about this one?
I really like it. None of the individual scenes go on too long. It's just perfectly pitched, perfectly timed. Said already, it's perfectly scripted. It's anything. Sid James is a hero. Kenneth Williams is a hero for me. And when they're there together with Hattie Jakes, it's just comedy gold every single time. Kenneth Williams comes out with some of those mannerisms and things that you get bits in different films, but he seems to come out with all of them here. I mean, I recorded one of them when I was watching it and sent it to you, JT, because it's what you do. And just every time I hear him do it now, I think of you. So thank you for that. I think this is I think this is an absolute hidden gem of the carry-ons, really. It's an 8.5 from me. I couldn't decide 8 or 9, so I'm going to go in the middle, 8.5.
Oh, I love what you're saying there, guys, actually. And I agree with everything that you've said there as well, because as I've said, this is not one I go back to. It's certainly not up there in my immediate go-tos when I watch a carry-on. We've still got to watch those on this channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, like George, I could go back and watch this tomorrow quite happily with a cup of tea and laugh, even though I know the gags are coming. And it's just so enjoyable. And I love the energy that comes from it. I love the fact that the cast are obviously enjoying this one. It is muted from the big players, I think, for me.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Also, I think that 55 years down the line.
55 years.
Yes. You know, the fact
again
that
with the 55 years.
Yes, the fact that it is so of its time adds to its charm.
Yeah. Well, it's that. As I said, I've been trying to see through the show as well. You look at this and you know it's 1970 because they're getting away from what's happened in the 60s, and this is where they become a little bit more common. This is before everything turns brown in my eyes.
But, yes. But, as I said, you know, this was by far the sauciest carry-on to date.
Here's a bit of sauce here.
Yes. And you know, the good ship Carry-On sailed off in a different direction because of this one for the rest of its run.
Well, it did, and considering that the next one is Carry On Henry, it's up and off, isn't it? Really, we carry on with that, you know. So there we go.
We should get to Carry On Dick. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That where it just goes completely. But anyhow, first one to start off into the 70s.
Actually, you want to see the trailer for Carry On Behind? Because just very quickly, there's a trailer for Carry On Behind which starts with a black screen and Kenneth Williams' voice on the soundtrack, and Kenneth Williams says, "Oh, a while back we gave you Loving. We've just given you Dick. Now we're going to give it to you from behind. Oh, it's from behind.
That's where we get to.
Yeah.
I can picture them saying that. I'm going to give this out of 10, everybody. I'm going to give this an 8 as well. And it's like Ian said there. Yeah, you're right. It is a hidden gem. And it's one that's certainly hidden from myself, even though it's in front of me all the time. I'm so glad we did this. It was pretty obvious to do this on this particular night on the 14th February, of course, as well. So I'm really glad we've looked at it. And I'm glad I've found it because I'm going to go back to it more often now, I think. It's really lovely. Let's go and see what they've got for scores on Matron's clipboard in the chat. We've got Paul Rose. He's saying to us 8 out of 10. I don't think I'd give less than 8 for most of them, except Emmanuel and Columbus. Stephen of James is saying 8 out of 10. It's a classic, hilarious romp. I love that word, romp. We don't use that word enough these days, do we? Yes.
No.
Mark McIntosh is saying he's going to give it a solid one by saying here it's a good one, so I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10. John is also saying the Carry On TV series was not a patch on the film series. I agree with you there, John. I have tried time to watch it. I can't get it. Just doesn't work for me. I don't know what it is. It doesn't work.
Yeah, the Carry On Laughing series is. I mean, it proves how popular the Carry Ons were in the day, but it is the TV series is a good few steps down from the films.
Oh, why is the magic not there?
I don't think the scripts are as strong for a start.
They're not written by the usual crew, though, are they?
They're not. They're written by TV sitcom writers, and I don't think the sitcom formula works for Carry On.
No. It's like those Christmas things they did. I've never managed to get through them. So anyway, but
they're the best of a bad bunch, actually.
Oh, I think they're awful. Yeah. Thanks, John. Yeah, you're right. We agree with that. Killbot Kill is here with us, giving it 8 out of 10. Paul Richards is saying, I give it a 9 out of 10. It's a good, solid Carry On. John Roberts back with us saying a solid 8 out of 10. Mark Greaves, a solid 8, not in the top tier, but still classic Carry On. Yeah, see, we're on the same boat here, really. 8 out of 10 from Mark Milford. Carry On Loving is packed with essentials and never over the limit. Bill is saying to us 7 out of 10. It's not one of the most memorable, but it's better than some of the later ones, in England and Columbus, he's saying there.
Well, England is the one I struggle with.
Yeah. Oh, and we're going to get to that at some point, but I have to say I'm with you on that. Mrs. Lisa Pertwee is saying, I enjoyed this film on VHS, so I give it 8 out of 10. It's great to know that you've seen them as well over there, Mrs. Lisa Pertwee, because of course you're over there in Canada. God bless you. Lots of madness. But yes, it's great to know that you've got them over there. And she's also saying, does Kenneth Williams makes any Carry On film enjoyable?
Yeah.
It's not quite the same when he's not there, is it, really? Sam is saying one of the lesser carry-ons for me, a mere 7 out of 10 for me. It's still a good mark. And The Ark in Space, 8 out of 10. They're one of the best of the 70s films. The gags land perfectly and the cast are excellent, which are patchy at best, especially England. Okay, yeah, I mean, the gags, this is where we see their art. This is where we see the artists doing what they do. They know how to give a delivery. It's beautiful.
I can't think of a single gag in this film that doesn't land.
There isn't one. That's why.
Yeah.
Honestly, for so-called actors that are in school now, or people that want to be actors, they need to go and look at this film, I would say, as well as a couple of the others, to see how to be a versatile actor and to understand what humor is and how to land a gag. Because I think we've lost that with a lot of the new ones coming through now, because they come through reality television and all this nonsense today, don't they? But here, this is an acting class and how to actually act. Go and look at it.
It's a masterclass, definitely, yeah.
Give me a UK bank holiday, ITV4 and Carry On Film Marathon, says Mark Greaves. I'm sure there's some coming up.
5 minutes long.
I know. Cass Hire. Rump is another good word. Rump. Rump. I like that word. I'm going to use that more often. Rump. I get it on a t-shirt. Lots of laughs there from Paul Richards. Thank you for that, Paul. And Paul Rose saying to us, lots of Pauls tonight. Compared to the Star Wars TV special, they are masterpieces. That is just total cringe. We won't talk about that again, shall we?
The Holy special is funny for different reasons.
On how not to do it.
Exactly.
What we've got here. Great show again. Carry On films always make me laugh every time I watch, even before the joke hits. Much needed tonight ahead of hospital tomorrow. Thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone. Yes, Legion of James. I hope it's all well and good tomorrow. Hope you're okay. Yeah, because he's going in for a little hospital visit tomorrow. So yeah, hopefully you'll be around for Sunday and you can let us know how you got on. Eh? But fingers crossed. Good luck to you, mate. Get well soon and all that. Yes. Boomer Dog is saying to us, I'm clearly getting old, but a cup of tea and a digestive biscuit and a carry on loving is a perfect Valentine. 9 out of 10. Nothing wrong with that. But change the digestive biscuit to a suggestive biscuit. Cheers. Much better. Julianne is giving it 8 out of 10. Great laughs. Thank you, Julianne. Any more for scores on Matron's clipboard here, everybody. And here's Legion giving us an update. Hopefully I'll get the all clear finally with this MRI on my head. Long time coming, but I'm feeling pretty positive this time. Good. Dalek Lives Matter. Did Carry On ever in any of their series do a Doctor Who sketch? No.
He does get a mention and Carry On Screaming though, doesn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
Peter Rogers at one time did have an outline for a sci-fi Carry On, which was called Carry On Spaceman. But it never went into the full development stage because he didn't think you could successfully do a sci-fi film on a carry-on budget.
Well, they couldn't really, could they? And it was probably just as well that they got rid of that idea, really. Because I mean, you see the prestigious these days, don't you, where they use elements of Star Wars?
Yeah. Well, we got Spaceballs, didn't we? Yeah. So
yeah. See that? Oh, I don't know. But you know, that thing that people have done where you get Kenneth's voice as Darth Vader or whatever. I mean, that is quite funny because it's the lines from the Carry On film, but that's done with the Star Wars thing. So I don't know. It's very bizarre, isn't it? Any more in the chat for scores on Matron's clipboard? No, I'm going to call it there then. Thank you, everybody. Oh, that was great, guys. I really enjoyed talking about that with you all, everybody, and it's so lovely to actually watch it all again, wasn't it? It's good fun. Carry On Loving, 55 years old this year. If you can, go and source it, go and watch it and have a laugh. Why don't you? Because we need it, let's face it. From Paul, from George, from Third Doctor Ian and myself, thank you very much. To the guys, thank you for being here as well.
Thank you.
very much.
Great fun. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be back with another Carry On film at some point. Make sure you have subscribed. Make sure you
Which
are
one is
subscribed. Don't know yet. I do actually.
I bet you do, yes.
But yeah, make sure you're subscribed. If you have already subscribed to the channel, please make sure you are still subscribed. Give us a thumbs up and do all the stuff that you know you've got to do and keep in tune with us. We'll be back here on Who's Views on Sunday for headlines. Got a lot to talk about there as we go back to the world of Doctor Who and its fandom. So come and join us back for that live at 8 o'clock. And don't forget, next week on Who's Views Reviews, 8 o'clock on Wednesday, we'll be looking at Doctor Who, The Invasion. Oh, yes, indeed. Can't wait for that one as part of our cyber season. From the moment, though, from all of us, have a great weekend. Have a great lesson. Happy Valentine's. And we will see you very, very shortly. Ta-ra, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.